Brexit negotiators hope to broker an agreement in the coming days when face-to-face talks are allowed to restart after a coronavirus scare. After Michel Barnier sent a subtle message to the UK, the process was thrown into doubt last week when a member of Mr. Barnier's team tested positive for the virus and top-level meetings were called to a halt. But now UK and EU sources are bullish about the chances of a deal, insisting the incident hadn't completely derailed the talks. EU officials could even travel to London later this week once Mr. Barnier has completed his period of self-isolation. There is hopes the deal could be completed as early as Thursday when the Frenchman is allowed to return to London for talks. After the short delay, other officials believe the agreement could come early next week. The talks have continued via video conference since in-person sessions were called off last Thursday. Mr. Barnier has even been monitoring English lockdown rules, liking a social media post where at least 70 Conservative MPs were calling for more proportionate measures after December 2, a not so subtle indication he is keeping a close eye on the UK. He liked a post by Mark Harper, who was calling on Boris Johnson to end tough lockdown restrictions with an open letter from Tory MPs, a brewing rebellion against Number 10 that Mr. Barnier seemed keen to point out he was aware of. A deal could be reached towards the end of the week, with Boris Johnson and EU Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen expected to discuss the talks on the phone. The leaders could usher in a political compromise on the most contentious issues still left unresolved: access to Britain's fishing grounds and common standards, including state aid rules. Discussions over the so-called level playing field were last week said to be progressing. But the row over fisheries is expected to rumble on until the battle end, with movement still said to be too slow for any compromise to arrive in time for any free trade deal to be implemented before the end of the year. Negotiators have just 5 weeks to broker an agreement before the end of the transition period on December 31. Parliament, EU member states and the European Parliament are also expected to rubber stamp any Brexit trade deal before it can enter into force. Chancellor Rishi Sunak yesterday insisted Britain must not sell out in order to strike a Brexit deal in the coming days. He said the coronavirus pandemic is a bigger threat to the economy than a failure to reach an agreement with Brussels.